What's up, demons and demonettes? It is I, Atrexy, Demon Queen, and today I want to talk to you about
Look at you, darling.
Hodgkin, the latest hero to enter AFK Journey. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Now, I know it's been a while. There hasn't been much content to cover at this point. But hey, we got a new hero, and we're going to cover it. So as you can see, I pushed him up to Paragon 2. I'm kind of at a state where I need to push heroes to at least Paragon 1, maybe a Paragon 2 to viably test them against some of the higher end comps that I'm going against, because I go from a range from anywhere from Supreme Plus to Paragon 4 in my current arena environment. And then Supreme Arena, it depends if I get knocked off or not, which is not often. Then I plus 15 his weapon, just to test that out at max, and to kind of like give him that extra stat boost, again, that he's going to need to go against those higher end teams, because again, it's a bit of an older server now. We have a lot of arena heroes that are at 15 minimum, maybe plus 20, so we're going up against a lot of really strong heroes. So when we pull for a new hero, we do need to beef them up so that they can survive and we can effectively test them in arena. So let's go into his skill sets next. Alright, so here we have his ultimate. This is Cannon Fire. Hodgkin fires a cannon at each enemy in sequence. He deals 320 plus 30 skill damage. This gets upped by level, as you can see, right up to 360. Damage to the hit. And so it damages the enemy and any adjacent enemies. Adjacent allies also get hit, but they only take 100%, not the 350 or 390 that you have here. If any unit is hit by it more than once, the damage from subsequent hits is reduced to 20%. Yeah, so the second hit is just like a little hit. It's not like a big hit. It's the initial hit that does the big damage. Alright. Hodgkin enters an ethereal state for 8 plus 0.5 seconds per skill point. During that, he is immune to physical damage and recovers 70 plus 10% HP. This does not apply to magic damage. This does not apply to true damage, which you do see a lot of in Arena, and we'll cover that when we get to Arena. When Hodgkin casts Cannon Fire, he gets this state for 4 seconds. Alright. Hodgkin deals 240% plus 30% damage to enemies with a 2-tile arc. This is just kind of like his base attack, I would say, his Rending Cleave. Kind of just like a basic skill. Kind of works like Thorin's ult, you know, like you have that arc. It's pretty nice. Gives him a little bit of range, as you can see, and we'll talk about that in other things where we see it in action. Hero Focus. Hodgkin increases his attack by 9% during his battle. His attack increases an extra 6% during the ethereal state. And then this gets up to 15 and 10. So you'll notice that he goes into his ethereal state for his Cannon Fire, so he'll do even more damage with his Cannon Fire with the Hero Focus. And then you have Ardent Believers. So at the beginning of the fight, he'll summon 2 Dead Tide Warriors. They're affected by Voidbound magic. They get 60% of his HP and 100% of his other stats. They can only launch normal attacks. When a unit affected by Voidbound magic is defeated, they trigger an explosion, dealing damage 120% plus 10% of defeated units' max HP. To the adjacent enemies, the extra damage cannot exceed 200% of his attack. The target also loses energy. And then this just kind of increases their explosion damage and applies Voidbound magic to any unit hit by Cannon Fire that does not already have it. The energy loss from this kind of explosion is reduced to 70%. So it just means that everybody gets the potential to blow up. And then Hodgkin reduces the phys defense of enemy hit by Cannon Fire by 15%, stacks up to 2 times, right? So they can, so if everybody's clumped up, it can double stack when he does the 5. That's all that means. Alright, so what does this translate to? Let's talk about stages. He's not good for stages. At least not that I could see. Again, we're pushing at a high deficit here. It's kind of set what we're doing, right? So Talent Trials, you're either running a version of this Light Bearer team with Atasia, and then as you can see, you have your heavy Celestial Hypogean team, which is Freyasto, Smokey, Coco, Talion, and Scarlita. Occasionally, we'll run Control, which is Erin, Carolina, Arden, Almis, and Tamisia. But you won't really see much other variations from that. He doesn't really fit into any of those squads at this time. Again, you kind of have something similar like right here for the regular, where you're kind of running a control team, and then you're running like a smoky team, right? So we'll just do what I normally do, which is just throw in auto progress while I'm doing other things. That's been my main method of pushing as of late. So he's not really good in stages. I didn't really see the potential. Now let's go to Dream Realm, and we'll talk about boss fights in general. So here's kind of one of the better ones, and I'm going to show you the issue that he has with Freyasto and why he doesn't synergize well with Freyasto teams, at least on boss fights. Alright, so we're going to slow it down. So as you can see, there appears to be a max limit of the number of heroes that you can have in front of the boss at a time, or that at least can reach it. And it looks to be about 5. So with this, somebody's getting left out. So either real Freyasto's getting left out, or Hodgkin is getting left out. We'll speed it up. So I believe after this is when Hodgkin gets left out. So, you see he's a little too slow. He does do his rending cleave, but he's just kind of standing there waiting for 9 seconds for his next rending cleave to go off, right? So, the problem, at least on Endless, is because of Freyasto, Mikola, Smokey is kind of like the meta on almost every fight. He doesn't really have much space, especially when you're porting in your Smokey, so on fights like Stomper. So, do I think he can be good in Dream Realm? I think with physical damage, he's not going to be that great. So even if we go... here's a squad where I ran where he didn't get choked out. He only did 6.6 billion damage as opposed to, say, a Freyasto's 11, right? So if we go to our top score here of 63, right? Everybody just does more damage. They're better at breaking him out. The problem is that not running someone. They just don't do as much damage with him in, so he does not look to be an endless mode hero. That does not say that he does not have hope. He could potentially be good on pre-endless. Let's go to the bosses, and I'll just cover. So Stomper, I think he has potential on pre-endless. Orson, no potential. Beetle, nothing. Possibly a Lone Gaze, and then possibly Skyclops. Those are the only ones. Like Skyclops, because the cannon fire hopefully could burn down or be an assist in burning down the ads quicker. There, as you notice, his ads don't die. They get a lot of healing from Mikola on these fights, so they're pretty chunky, and they don't die on the boss fights, and that's another problem. Like, maybe if the ads died and they blew up, it might be better, but they just don't die in the fight. Now, what does that mean? I think if he has potential on these bosses, then he has potential for our Ravaged Realm, should we get that. We'll see what Titan Reaver is going to be like. That's the new PvE world boss event. I don't know if it's going to be like a Ravaged Realm or if it's going to be more like a Primalord situation, but he has potential there if it's going to be like a multi-team situation like we had with Ravaged Realm, and we have to use each faction. And again, if we get Ravaged Realm, I think he'll be viable there. But that's pulling a hero based on solely future potential and not what's currently going on in the game, so that kind of does not make him a must pull in that regards. Alright, but let's talk about Arena and kind of where he does excel and where he struggles. So let's go here. Alright, so as you can see, we did a lot of testing. And one of the things I'll note is you may see teams like this that use Taylene or Tassie on map 5. That's pretty popular. Now, he didn't work good as a replacement for Dio in D&D. He does struggle on map 5, so this is 5. Right, as you can see, he kind of gets... Well, he doesn't get boxed out, but he can get boxed out on these wall maps. But he struggles, like, this is a heavy magic damage team, so he's gonna struggle. But again, he was only, well, his Paragon will want to go against other teams, so you see he gets knocked out pretty easy here. So he struggles against the magic teams. I think a better example of him struggling against a magic team is, here we have someone running the Tassie Tailing team. That's pretty darn popular. Now, I would typically beat this by running D&D, because Dun kind of negates everything that happens on this map and makes it really easy to beat. But we ran Zoo instead. Thankfully, we ran Florabelle. She kind of saved the day. But we'll show you what happens. So here you go. He's in the back. He gets put to sleep immediately. And he just gets destroyed by Taylene. So he just gets nuked down. So he's not very good against pure magic damage teams. But like I said, Florabelle saved the day. Thankfully, we have P4 Florabelle. So now here's another team you may see a lot, which is a Lily May Staw, which was pretty popular for a while. So it's still kind of hanging around. So here we are on Arena Map 3. And you can see the problem that he has on Arena Map 3 is he gets boxed out. So he just kind of stands there for the majority of the fight and doesn't do anything. So right, he's just boxed out. Now I did make some adjustments in further testing. Alright, so here we have a slightly different team on Arena 3. I think we adjusted for this. Right, so we put him out to the side. He kind of gets blocked off by Lenya here because the ads are too slow. But you can see his ad, somehow one of his ads ends up over here because they get summoned beyond the wall. He does get out and he does start to do some stuff. But you can see his energy builds kind of slow, even with Paragon levels. But there comes his cannon. So it hits 5 times. Always shoots 5 times, so it's always gonna hit heroes. So if there's only like 1 or 2 heroes, they're getting hit multiple times. So it does do a lot of damage, and because it is a little slower, it does kind of act like a finisher. Alright. So here we tested him against a Dianel. Now, he is, like I mentioned, he is going up against P4, as I do go against P4. He is only P1 in this test, but I do think he does have potential against Dianel teams. Alright, so as you can see, he does survive pretty well against this team, because he does immune physical. Now, he doesn't live past when Dio goes up in the air. I think part of the problem here is that if he's going to survive against a Dio team, he does need to be the same Paragon level as the Dio you're going against. Or close there too. Like P1 to P4, he doesn't survive that well. But maybe like P3 to P4, he'd have a shot. I did test him against a different Dino Burst team that had more magic damage, and he gets shredded almost immediately. As you can see, he just goes over here, and he just essentially gets one shot and deleted. That was against P3 when he was P1. So we did some testing on defense. He wasn't too hot. We have this. We have another Lily May team. I think this one's a little bit better, where I kicked him off to the side. Yeah, so here, he gets kicked off to the side. He does get in to get some action, but everybody else kind of killed off a lot of the other weaker heroes, we'll say. So he doesn't get punted, but he doesn't even get to get his ult off. So he's iffy for regular arena. He's decent, but again, he's not good against magic teams. He's not good against true damage teams, and he has some application against Dio teams if they're heavy on the Fizz side. But again, he needs to be like a comparable level in that environment to be viable against Dio. Alright, so let's check out Supreme Arena, because I did get to test him. Someone was kind enough to help me out with testing. So here we ran him on map 3. So I think he is a viable alternative to Tamisia, and this is, I think, a viable test here, because they ran a similar squad. They ran a Tamisia, who's Paragon 3 plus 15. I ran Hodgkins, who's Paragon 2 plus 15. As you can see, he does more damage than Tamisia, and he can take a beating, right? So here he takes 22 to Tamisia's 20. Now we are talking about maybe in the 15th roster slot that we are trying to fill on our Supreme Arena team, and he does fill that. It's hard to say to pull a hero based on your 15th, but let's see how he does in this fight. So as you can see, he's just kind of over here taking a beating. Our Shakir and Seth shredded Lily and Mikola, and he's just kind of over there. So against the double Mauler tile, he's really strong. Just because it's a lot of physical damage, and he just kind of like ignores it. And he gets buffed by Mikola, he gets buffed by Shakir. It's really good. Even when they tested against it, right, they put other things. He does die to Tassie here, so again, a weak against magic damage, but the rest of the team finishes it off. And then the one other time we tested him again it was against the same team. I think here we went against, did we put him against Dio here? No, again, it was against the same team, so it was like team to like team. Alright, so here's where he goes up against Dio, and this is where he really takes a pounding with a Valor Shield. He's really good. So, as you can see, he gets the Valor Shield, so he's got a huge shield. And he's just kind of like taking a beating. So the extra damage protection from Valor Shield saves him against Dio there. He's doing fine. And then just Seth and Shakira kind of finish things off. So in all, I think he's a very good arena hero. A little limited, struggles against magic teams, fits in our Mauler comp nicely, is a slightly upgraded, comparable to, say, running a Tamisia, or if you want to say, run like a Brutus and a Lenya, or you want to run 3 rogues. I'm not sure what everybody runs there. That's what I run that works best. So I think he's like a slight upgrade to Misia. So if you're not looking to fill that 15th slot for your Supreme Arena roster, you can probably skip him for now. We have him, we can swap over for Sonya, or you can pull him to say S plus and hold on to him for future potential in case he does turn out to be decent for additional bossing modes where we have like just a full Graveborn team. So like I said, if we get a Ravaged Realm again, I think he could be good there, at least on like your Fizz damage team. So maybe if you run him with like your Burial, your Thorin, Cecilia, and whoever was else in that squad at the time. I think it might have been a Ludovic, or it might have been Nero. I'm really, or Igor, you know, who knows. But I think he has potential there. But it's hard to say to pull him based on the potential. I think he's nice to have for now. Not a must-have. And again, if you're not going like on the high end, or you don't really need him for your Supreme Arena team and will want to upgrade your team slightly, you're probably safe to pass on him for the time being. Yeah, I mean, especially it's hard to say that, oh, you should pull him to fill in for that last spot, especially when we're going to be getting Hakar, the new Hypogean, very soon. In comparison to him, they're both warriors, and it looks like Hakar is gonna be a beast for Arena. Although we may pair up Hakar with our Dianel team, so Dianel does the shred, Hakar finishes everybody off, and it just kind of snowballs. Or we could put him in the Mauler comp, alright, where he just kind of finishes, like, Shakira and Seth do the bulk of the work, and then Hakar just kind of like finishes everybody off. Or we swap out Seth, we put Hakar in for Seth. We swap out Hodgkin, we put in probably Brutus in that spot to kind of like be that beefy kind of like frontliner support type hero that we get out of our Hodgkin or Tamisia. So we swap Brutus in for that and we put Hakar there. I think there's more speculation for that. With that, I think it devalues him a tad bit more, making him even more skippable. Because again, it's hard to say, hey, pull this guy, and then a week later, he's a pass. Again, you're gonna have your swap ticket, so if you pull for him and you regret, you can swap him off for Sonya, or if you didn't say pull Nara, and you're regretting not pulling Nara, you could swap him off for Nara. And that is it for this one. If you have any comments or questions, as always, toss them below, and I will catch you later. Bye!